All right, we are recording. This is the Green Team. We are talking about the Case of Power and Privileges case study. The first question asks, who or what are the key stakeholders that you want to meet with as the COO in the case study? Does anybody want to get started for us?
I was saying the cardiologists, the PCPs.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The patient safety committee.
And what's the chief medical officer, Dr. Moss, I believe is the other one.
Yeah.
And she let me
Moss, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I had all those, as well as Dr. Cards, and then the medical executive committee and the quality and patient safety committee. Kind of seemed like she had already talked to some of them a little bit, but I think as far as the investigation, she'd want to get more reports and more in detail information from them to figure out really what's going on and why there's, discord between the PCPs and the cardiologists. So,
right.
So I think that's a pretty straightforward question.
So that was my favorite question. I'm just
I know.
All right. So the second question was, or statement was, establish some key guidelines for the negotiation process. For example, establish a way for real communication to begin between the cardiologists and the PCPs.
I just talked about understanding what the mission is and what they were going in to discuss from each side. Being authentic, building trust.
I kind of had the same thing as Brittany. Them just first of all, just getting them together in a room to kind of what Brittany said, figure out what the issue is between some of the cardiologists wanting it to be that they can only read the EKGs, and then some of the PCPs they know how to read them and still they want to be able to read them. So just opening that door to have positive yet critical communication, because I feel like this conversation has to be, it seemed like already that the cardiologists, it's an issue for them, that the PCPs are able to read the EKGs and, diagnose patients based off of what they've seen. So, yeah.
Uh-oh, you lost Sarah again.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, to build on that, I agree with Brittany and Sierra, but I was also looking at on page 216 in the text, and it's called principled bargaining, which is tries to achieve that win-win solution that they say they're looking for in the case.
Oh yeah.
It highlights 4 things that you need to do before you start the negotiating, and the first thing is separate people from the problem. Number 2 is focus on interest and oppositions. The third thing is come up with options for mutual gain. And then the 4th thing is agree on a criteria at the beginning of the negotiations. So I thought that was a good thing to start, a good starting point as determining what needs to happen and what goals they should reach.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just talking away, and I was all look really interested, but nobody's saying anything. So I'm really sorry, guys. I have no idea what is going on with my Zoom. So I'm just gonna stay quiet, and then if I have something really good to say, I'll just pop it in real quick. Sorry.
I'm sure you were saying some good stuff, Sierra.
I swear, guys, I literally looked at all of the, I was like, why? They're so engaged, but nobody, maybe I'm sorry.
Yeah. Lindsay, I was thinking along the same lines as you. I actually thought about the page 216 there, where it talks about principled bargaining, and the alternative to that they list is positional bargaining. And it really seemed like in the case study that the cards guy was coming at it from that point of view, as this is our position and it's going to go our way one way or another, or else.
Yeah.
And so there really didn't seem to be an openness which is going to, I mean, that's going to be the challenge, I think, for the COO in this instance, is to take somebody who's of that mindset that, it's going to work our way. It's going to be my way or the highway, that kind of idea, and soften them in some way. So I do think that's a critical issue, in this instance, of kind of addressing that from the outset, the key guidelines. And I mean, it's just, I'm sure it's tough when you've got people that are all fired up about what they want and why they want it in an instance like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the principled bargaining is a great strategy in those kind of scenarios.
Yeah. I think too, it's good in the sense that it seems to kind of de-escalate the situation from the beginning and trying to remove the emotions and everything from it at first. So you don't have that in the very beginning, and it just drags the issue down the whole time.
So, Charlotte.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
You're fine. So we can move on to question 3. That would be identify the critical issues that need to be addressed, such as sources of power or political propositions. For that one, I looked at the information on page 188 in the text. That is the propositions or assumptions that the political frame makes. Here. So basically, 5 assumptions are that organizations or groups or people with different interests, different members have differences in values, beliefs, and interests. They must all make a decision on who gets what with the limited resources available. And the limited resources are what kind of creates that conflict in the organization. And then last, you have the goals and decisions emerge from the bargaining and negotiation that happens trying to fight for those, assets.
Yeah, that was pretty much what I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like under these assumptions, it fits really well because the cardiologists and the PCPs are at odds for the rights to read the EKGs.
Right.
And, the cardiologists believe that they should have them because that's their area of expertise, but the PCPs also want the right to that. But, you got to figure out who's right in the situation, what would be most beneficial for the organization.
No.
My cat's getting a little scared over here.
Sorry.
It's okay.
This is going to be an interesting video to watch.
So people are going to love us this week.
Give it a video to watch. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Did anybody else have any more thoughts on the propositions or the assumptions that the political frame makes or relating to the case?
So we did identify the critical issues that need to be addressed. Is that what we were doing there?
Yes.
Yes.
So I just listed the privileges for reading the EKGs, because the cardiologist folks, for some reason, were really opposed to the PCPers doing it. And I don't know, we never really are told why they're so vehemently opposed to it. I mean, we're told about this one person that died more recently, but apparently there's been friction between these groups for 6 years or something.
Yeah.
So
That's what the one committee said. But yeah, it's just really,
yeah,
you're right. They don't really elaborate on why they are so at odds. And to me, it's kind of like a catch-22. I would have a hard time making this decision because if you let the cardiologist do it, you've got these PCPs who are referring their patients instead of to the cardiologist at this hospital to outside hospitals. So that's compromising the organization. But if you give it to the cardiologist, the PCPs aren't going to be happy. So, or I'm sorry. if you let the PCPs do it, are you compromising the quality or the safety of the healthcare given because they don't necessarily know how to do it?
Yeah, there's some lack of continuity there from the hospital's perspective because these PCPs are not referring patients to their own cardiologists. I mean, there's obviously something wrong there that has to be addressed. So I feel like, in addition to the privileges issue, to privileges for reading the EKGs, another issue that will probably need to be addressed is credentialing and the patient safety. So like in the case study, it talked about how the PCPs were meeting the criteria. They were getting qualified. So evidently the people who specialize in patient safety were giving them the thumbs up.
Right.
So I would think in this meeting that's going to have to be addressed more thoroughly and
It seems like
you know,
more of their feelings are involved than.
Yeah, I was gonna say I almost felt like they kind of feel like they're entitled, the cardiologists, and that the PCPs should just strictly stick to primary care.
Right.
But I agree with you, Kenny. It just seems like, maybe, I don't know if they're credentialing differently, but it just seems like if they're meeting them, why can they not read
Right.
PCPs as well for their patients? So you can't just base it off of one EKG that was read wrong by a PCP. So now all PCPs cannot read EKGs. I didn't really understand that part either.
A little bit of a mystery, I guess, in the case. But the only other issue that I mentioned as being a critical issue that would need to be addressed is the kind of the financial side of all of this. So like the cardiologists were saying, if you do let the PCPs do it, then you at least need to let us reread it, and it's going to be the hospital that has to pay for it. So like that's going to be money right there that the hospital's got to consider if they want to pay it or not to do that. And if they don't, if they leave things as they are, the cardiologists are losing patients, i.e. income that they and the hospital could have because the PCPs are referring patients elsewhere. So like there's these various financial issues that are going to have a strong bearing on how all of this gets sorted out one way or another. And they'll have to talk about that, pretty pointedly, I would guess.
Yeah. I think those two things are the biggest things that this COO is going to have to look at because, like they stated in the case, and we've been talking about, they have the credentialing for the PCPs. So is it just a personal thing truly with the cardiologist, or is it something that they feel is not up to standard and that's what needs to be evaluated and the credentialing is what need to be changed? If you make it more rigorous, will they be okay with it more so? And definitely the financial, because like I said, if you keep letting the PCPs not do it, they're going to refer out, which is money, or you could have the cardiologist have a second opinion, which is still more money. But and then the other example I wanted us to talk about in this question was the sources of power. I don't know if you guys saw those. Those are on page 196 in the textbook. And there was just a list of the different powers. Did anybody look at those?
Yeah.
I was thinking that the COO was in the position power because it seemed like they're going to be making the ultimate decision in this case. The coercive power would be the PCPs. As we talked about, they can send patients to outside cardiologists, which, again, causes the hospital to lose money. The reputation power, I was thinking probably the cardiologist would have this power because, again, the EKGs technically are their area of expertise, so should they really be the ultimate, providers to have that say and read those? Those were my big three that I pulled out of those lists.
And it could be that the COO would have this personal power, being maybe more of a charismatic type of person, somebody who's able to win both sides over in an agreement, trying to mediate this issue. But, there's no guarantee that he does. But I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah. I think it would definitely be, what's the word I'm looking for? A characteristic that person should have and
Yeah.
able to negotiate better, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, Brittany or Sierra, anything on that?
I don't think I have anything else to add.
Okay.
Nope, I'm good.
I say, Sierra, you could just shake your head yes or no.
I know, I'm like, just trying to be quiet, guys. I'm sorry.
All right. So the fourth question was, how did the 4 principles of moral judgment impact your decisions? Anybody wants to jump in on that?
What page was that on?
221. So the
Yeah, I
fourth-
love those questions that preceded the listing of the 4 principles.
Mhm.
Lax and Sabinius, I guess, are the ones that come up with these questions. Those are great questions. I think that anybody should think through when they're in this kind of role. Are you following rules that are mutually understood and accepted? And then it talks about how in poker, everybody understands that you bluff, but pulling cards out of your sleeve, well, that's just out of bounds. There's some things that are just givens that are immoral, you don't do. And so everybody knows it. And so that's important to bear in mind. And then being comfortable with discussing and defending your choices. Would you want your colleagues and friends to know what you're doing? Your spouse, your children, your parents? So like these really get at kind of bringing to light decisions that, you need to be able to defend and feel good about if people were to see it. And, you don't want to just try to get away with stuff that is really not good for your reputation and good for the hospital's reputation. So I thought these were excellent questions. And then I guess mutuality, generality, openness, and caring, are those the 4?
Yeah. That's the 4. Yeah.
That's weird because mine's on page 184 in my book.
Wow.
I know, it's weird. I was like, yeah.
Hey, as long as they're
Did I do
there.
something wrong? Okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Kenny. I wouldn't have thought about it like that, so I'm glad it presented it like that, would you want your kids to know about it, or, your family? Would you be embarrassed or disappointed, or would they be disappointed in your actions? I think that's a really good way to think about a lot of things before you make a decision that's really gonna affect something.
Yeah.
Especially, I think, if it was true that patient died due to the EKG misreading, and if that was an ongoing problem, I definitely say they would need to come up with a solution that at least the cardiologists always look at it, or some kind of, solution that allows them to be safer and create better patient care.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think I don't know how to specifically apply them to this case.
Yeah.
But I just feel like those are great principles to bear in mind. And as a leader, maybe it would be wise to just put these on the table, at the front end of the negotiations, and say, here's how we're going to do this, and let's bear these things in mind, because ultimately you're talking about 2 different groups, but they're part of the same organization. PCPs and cardiologists are still part of this hospital, apparently. So it's good to just kind of be upfront about those issues.
Yeah, and I agree. Maybe that is how you apply it in this case, saying, we need to come to a mutual agreement, and, we want to be open about it and be caring towards each other. Because like I said, it seems like the issue really just is deep-rooted personal issues. So
It really does.
I think it's something that needs to be approached, in a more caring manner. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, the last question was, how will your negotiation style as a COO benefit or hinder the process? And what can you do to strengthen your weaknesses? So I didn't know if we were supposed to be using our scores from our negotiation.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But I thought too.
We were just supposed to assume kind of what she was based on her wanting to do or him or her wanting to do the win-win, resolution. But I think my styles, I was low on assertiveness and moderate to high on cooperativeness. Under these identifiers, I think I would identify with the COO. I want to more likely participate in mutual bargaining where both sides get a favorable outcome. And the weakness in that is obviously competing and gonna have a hard time, if somebody started putting the pressure on. That'd be my weakest point.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody had any different results on their negotiation styles.
Mine was similar to that, about empathizing with each party and, and just being able to assert myself, I think, was my weakness.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm a nice person.
I just want to make everyone happy.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be great. That would be great.
Right? In a perfect world.
I came out as avoiding was like my highest, although even that was not really the highest. And I'm not sure that that's really accurate for me, but anyway. It says negotiators that exhibit this style are passive, prefer to avoid conflict, make attempts to withdraw from the situation or pass responsibility onto another party, and fail to show adequate concern or make an honest attempt to get to a solution. And it says this style is both low in assertiveness and low in cooperativeness. So that's like, to me, that's like the biggest loser out of all of the possibilities there. You don't excel at anything. But, I mean, I just feel like there's obviously conflict in this type of a scenario, because why are you having this meeting? Because the cardiologists are upset at the PCP folks and the fact that they've got these EKG reading privileges. So one thought that I had in terms of kind of moderating the meeting would be to ask each side to state the other side's position and perspective in as best and fair a way as they possibly could, so as to show that they're not going to be just entrenched in their own position and duke it out, but that they're genuinely understanding what the other side, what their position is and kind of the way they're looking at this whole thing. And I think if you can do that, I mean, you break some of the ice around this kind of a meeting. So I'm getting a message that says my internet connection is unstable, so I might be out there with Sierra here in a second.
Uh-oh.
Oh, gosh. So bad.
I got everything, so I think you're good. But yeah, I definitely agree. Because like I said, I mean, we've talked about the whole time. We just don't really know what, especially the cardiologist issue is really.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think.
Yeah. I guess really you've got to try to get at that and say, let's talk about this. I just found out you guys have hated each other for 6 years, and try to get to that root issue and say it's boiling over now. It's long past time to not only talk about it, but get some resolution in one way or another. But I don't know. I guess regardless of what your styles are, you've got to dig deep and have accountability and just lead well in this type of a meeting.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
I think anybody can do. It's just a matter of experience and learning, stepping out there and being strong. Things that even if they don't come natural, I think anybody can grow in it and do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. I could be wrong.
I agree. Does anybody else have anything? Sierra, you've been pretty
Thanks,
stable.
Mark. Really quickly, I was just going to say I came in at the tail end of Lindsay and Brittany, and I am definitely a people pleaser. Like, I want everybody to be happy, everybody to get along, and one of my weaknesses, I'm not very, authoritative, but I can be when I need to be. Right. So, but I definitely like what you said, Kenny, of just having, the PCPs and the cardiologists kind of like present the other side's case. I think that would be a really good strategy in this meeting.
Yeah.
So they could that would help them understand where the other side is coming from.
Well, apparently most of us are a bunch of people pleasers. Kenny,
Definitely.
you're really the odd man out.
I am too. No.
So,
I mean, nobody likes conflict,
Right.
yeah.
So some people may be more comfortable around it, but nobody wants it. So.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, no closing thoughts, I think we're good.
All right.
Awesome. Guys, I'm really sorry. I'm going to email Dr. Lane and be like, okay, listen, when you watch our...
Uh-oh.
Hold on. I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.
They did it again.